That's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters.
Is mine working? Is mine working? Oh, good. Thank you so much. Is it 5 o'clock?
Now what is that?
Oh, the cricket.
Maybe that's our issue. We have a cricket in one of them.
Okay. Well, something's broken.
That sounds like a cable issue again. Huh?
Yeah, I got that.
Because nobody's doing anything.
Did we replace the cables?
They replaced one cable. I don't think it wasn't the right cable. Y'all go ahead and start. Maybe we'll play with it monthly. What is that? It's not you, is
I
it?
think everybody just turned off.
Have you always used that remote mic?
What about moving that way?
You always use those earbuds? I hate to play the blame game out of it.
It's not me.
You sure it's not? I wonder if it's picking up. You're the only mic in front of the speaker.
Oh.
You're now moving.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Nate, let's turn it off. So I can concentrate on the microphone.
Could be aliens.
Okay.
It's amazing how that works.
Let me do that. Hold the meeting together and then the roll call, you know all that stuff?
You want to say something, you want to say it after I do the roll call?
Or should I do it now?
That's up to you.
Let me do it now. We're thankful to have Richard Black take over the chairmanship of the Planning Commission for an undesignated period of time. Just so you know what's going on, Ed Provost, the chairman, is dealing with a health issue, and he'll be out probably for several months. So until such time, Richard has stepped up and will be leading us.
So y'all be nice, okay? All right, call to order of the Montego Regional Planning Committee, Tuesday, January the 7th, 2025. First meeting for the year. Ed obviously is not here. Greg, Mayor Maloof.
Here?
Dan Sargent. Dan Brown.
Here.
Alec Mosley.
Here.
Katie Trahan.
Here.
And myself. Approval of previous minutes. Minutes were previously sent out by Jonathan. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Any conversation? Any changes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All for?
Aye.
All opposed? So recorded. Staff and community reports.
Yeah, so if you look on your agenda, I think last month there was talk about signs for businesses that are no longer existing. And we were trying to figure out if there was anything within the zoning ordinance or if there would need to be anything put within the zoning ordinance. So within the zoning ordinance, there is for non-conforming signs that abandoned signs, if at the time of business or other use of the location moves to another location or ceases to exist, all signage pertaining to the prior establishment must be removed within 30 days after notification by the city at the property owner's expense. So there is already a mechanism within the zoning ordinance. I think Travis is already addressing whatever issues were there. Yeah.
So that would be something that
That's,
Travis would look for?
Yes.
And
The
you,
building
Travis,
inspector,
you would notify the landowners?
That's correct, yeah.
So that resolves, I think, the issue that we had last month concerning
Okay.
about signs for businesses that no longer existed.
Okay. Any other reports?
No, the only thing I think I told you earlier, as we go into the new business, the Joseph Estate final plat and the Land is upon Eagle final plat were withdrawn due to him not able to get signatures in time. it would be on the February agenda, but he wanted to withdraw them from
Okay.
this month's agenda and place them on next month.
Those are the two that are A and B under new business?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Old business, Hampton Inn site plan.
Yeah, so that has to be reviewed after the plat is approved. So they have a plat, as we talked, I think the last time we addressed this. The site plan they had submitted were using lot lines that didn't exist because, so that a plat had to be approved prior to that site plan being reviewed and approved.
So what are we gonna look at first?
So the plat, so if you look at
Okay.
the plat, number C is the Vision LLC Parker Street minor plat, it's the plat for the Hampton Inn site plan.
Okay. Do we have a representative?
Yeah, I'm Jake Simcoe, I'm with Berry Engineers. I'm just representing the applicant for the plat. I mean, it's a lot split essentially, so it's a lot combination and then a lot split. So they're combining 3 lots and then splitting it into 2 lots, and it's just doing it all on one plat.
And where's this location?
It's between Moss Circle and Parker Street, along West Main Street. Is that West Main Street there?
Well, it's on Parker Street.
It's on, yes,
Yeah,
it's
it's
between
on
Parker Street and
Yeah.
Moss Circle, so it's at the end of Moss Circle, and then I think it's right next to the Hardee's.
Yeah, it's just past Harvey Summer.
This is tied to the Hampton?
Yeah, so they like, so like the lot lines that they've shown, like currently, they don't have frontage on Parker Street, so they would either have to put an easement to get access to Parker Street, even though if they're owned by the same property owner, that just from a legal perspective, I think you would have to put an easement, or they need to do a plat to move the lot lines over to have frontage on Parker Street so they can have access on both Parker and Moss. I think that's what they're showing their site plan for entrance and exit. Were the plats brought tonight? Do you have the plat?
I do not have the plat.
Okay.
Jonathan, is the plat before us that was in the agenda still have the problem of not showing lot lines that don't exist that you mentioned?
That was, no, so the plat, that was on the site plan. The site plan was showing, I think it was the November meeting, they were showing they're gonna have interest off of Parker Street, and they were showing, so they didn't have frontage off Parker Street to put that entrance there. They didn't show, there was no deeded easement to allow them access off Parker Street. So they would either have to do an easement, or they would have to put a plat to have access on Parker Street. So if you look at how it's kind of hard to tell here, but you'll see that there's existing lot lines that are being abandoned because that's where the existing lot is. So there's, they don't actually currently have that until the plat is approved.
So are you saying the conditions have been met or not?
If this plat is approved, then they will now, it will be conforming to what their site plan currently shows. So I'll say, like, the site plan didn't reflect what the existing lots, the existing property actually is. So I think that it's gotta, they need to do this before they can get the site plan approved.
I have another question. Your recommendation was that the special exception request and the plat be approved. Has the special exception request been approved?
Yes, so BCA approved for the whole, so that has to do in terms of the site plan. So there's.
I understand.
So yeah, so the BCA prior to this meeting approved special exception to allow for an additional story for the hotel because it exceeded the maximum 3-story.
So is the primary access on Parker now?
Well, they're having access on both Parker and Moss Circle per the site plan. I don't know what their primary access is.
The address is Parker Street, so we would call that our primary access. But I don't think it matters because they have access on both.
I know there's been conversation about this being in conflict with the road being interstate.
As far as I'm aware, there is nothing from TDOT that said they have any concerns about, and that has more to do with the site plan than the plat. Like, we're just dealing with this plat and whether or not the plat meets the specifications of the subdivision regulations, which is based off of, I think I had asked if they showed any utility lines that are currently existing, and then since they're saying there's a gas easement, there needs to be a gas utility certificate. There is no plat here, which is, that's a little concerning on my end. I think the plat needs to be here tonight for them to be able to see what it looks like, a final plat, to be able to sign off on that.
That was not communicated to me.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, but if you're submitting a plat, it needs to
The
be.
surveyor, I
Yeah,
thought.
surveyor,
submitted the plat.
yeah. Again, that's on the surveyor to make sure that
Okay.
he's here, or communicate to you that he did, because he should know that the plat should be brought to be able to be approved by the planning commission.
Did you notify the surveyor that
Yes.
we were on the agenda today?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So that, in this situation, the one certificate, that's just more of, they just have to have the certificate signed off. And then for the utility lines showing, that's more of, they don't necessarily have to show utility line. That's, I would say that you want to have them there just to see where they are, but utilities do sign off on them, so they would know where the utility lines are. That's up to the planning commission whether you want to do it subject to approval, but I would have that, they need to bring it next month and have that signed off. Otherwise, that's revoked in the same way with the site plan. If you do approve the site plan later tonight, I would have them bring it back the next month.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
If the planning commission were to approve the plat, could we then send the plat here to have it signed, or does it actually have to be at the planning commission meeting in order for it to be approved or to be signed off on?
That's up to the planning commission.
Yeah.
to
I'm
show.
a little uncomfortable with a plan I've never seen, and nobody else in this commission has ever seen, and you haven't seen it, take it.
I've only seen what is sent to me via the digital. That's why, anytime the plat is brought before a planning commission, at least typically you brought a physical copy, so that way you can see what the final thing is being signed, because the planning commission secretary signs off on it. That's the only way you can actually get it recorded in the state of Tennessee, is the planning commission secretary has to sign off on it.
Is there an administrative process for the plat to be approved?
This could be a staff approval plat. And the only reason I didn't put staff approval is because the planning commission in a previous meeting had asked that it be brought to the planning commission prior to the site plan. That's the only reason that it was not.
Okay. Did they ask for that, or I guess we'd have to look into the meeting minutes.
That's
Or
what I
was it
understood that they wanted.
that we had to have an
Well,
approved plat in
Yeah,
order
regardless,
to
the plat needs to be approved before the site plan. That's my recommendation.
Mhm.
The planning commission can go whatever direction they want, but my recommendation is that we have the proper order of operations, and that a plat showing the lot lines. And again, to be quite honest, they could wait to have a lot recorded before they even approve the site plan, if they really wanted to do that.
Can we request to page this until the next hearing so that we can actually have a plat presented to the planning commission in a proper fashion?
Yes.
Can I request to table it?
Is that your request?
Yes.
Since this is a minor division and subject to staff approval, could you not also just cede your authority back to Jonathan, and then it can happen just as soon as he sees the plat, and that way it doesn't have to be tabled, and doesn't have to come back to another meeting?
Are we still going to have to look at the site plan at
Yes.
the next meeting if the plat has not been approved tonight?
True, yes. So the site, like I said, if that's the decision in which my recommendation is that the plat be approved either at a meeting or through staff approval prior to the site plan being. And the only reason, again, from the order of operations, I just want it so that way we have in the minutes in a public meeting, this plat has been approved, we know these lot lines are what they are, and then the site plan can be approved immediately after, so that way we know everything. So there's no, I think when you put a staff approval, it becomes kind of a situation where it's not actually officially recorded, there's no public meeting that's been approved. The only thing we would have would be if you got all the other utility signatures signed and then you had her sign off on that, you have to bring it before the planning commission. So regardless, you would have to bring a signed plat to the planning commission.
Unless they were to waive
Yeah.
their right and push it back to an administrative state. And I guess this would be on the next agenda, but I would like to request if we could have the site plan approved conditional upon an approved plat. I believe that you guys have that
I'll
right.
break the ice.
You have,
I don't
yeah,
understand.
you have the authority to do that. So basically he's saying that if you guys review the site plan tonight and you approve the site plan subject to the final plat being approved either through staff approval or at the planning commission meeting next month. That would be what he's asking, that it's subject to, and then situation that subject to, the site plan would be signed until the final plat is signed.
But if the approval of the plat is to be done by the planning commission, then that gains no time, because it won't happen until next month, and the site plan can be approved at the meeting, as we had thought we might do tonight. So,
But the plat the plat meets the requirements to be able to be approved administratively. So Jonathan is saying that we have the plat presented to the planning commission upon their request at the previous meeting. And he's saying that the planning commission could waive that and push it back to being an administrative approval because it doesn't technically require a planning commission approval. Because it is just 2 lots.
But to Alex's point, you're not gonna gain any time because we can't do anything until we approve, meet next month. So I recommend you just do it all
It
together.
prevents me from having to make the drive here, is what I'm getting at.
Just
Who would present the
quick
site
question of
plan?
clarification. Do you have a site plan that you would like them to approve tonight?
Yes, which is the next agenda item.
So what he's saying is if you approve the site plan subject to staff approval of the plat, it's all done and y'all don't have to talk about it next month. And I think that would save him a drive, and it would also facilitate the process. Because normally, a minor division is a staff approval anyway.
Conversation? Comments?
Yeah, I'm sorry to do this, please forgive me. The plat, does that meet all the requirements of a plat?
If it would, as long as they put in the stuff that I had requested, it's 2 lots or less, and they don't have any new utility lines, no new roads, so it would fall under the minor subdivisions B, which is staff approval.
I thought they were combining 3 lots.
What's that?
I thought they were combining 3 lots.
They're abandoning lot lines, so instead of being 3, they're becoming 2. So that, yes, it would fall under that. The only concern, like I think it's brought up, is whether or not, the order of operations and whether or not you want it to be brought before the public and have it approved in a public manner, and then have, so that way we all know there's no, dispute about whether or not these lot lines exist, and then having the site plan after. Which was the intent of this, again, a plat, anytime a plat is brought before, I mean, it should be brought, anytime it's put on the agenda, I don't know why the plat was not brought.
Well, a lot of times it's ownership issues.
Yeah.
So the bank won't close on the land until you have site plan approval, but you can't get site plan approval until you have a plat approved. So a lot of times in the situation, all over the southeast, we request that it's a contingent thing, that the site plan be approved contingent upon an approved plat at closing. In this case, the owner actually owns the property, so it was a moot point, so I didn't bother with that. But at this point, in order just to, selfish me to save drive time, I'm making the same request, which is, again, is on the next agenda item, right? If we're following the agenda items, the plat is what's before you right now, which my request is that you push it back into an administrative approval as opposed to a planning commission approval. And then my next agenda item on the site plan would be to request that it be approved contingent upon an approved plat.
Okay, Jonathan, let me ask you this. If the plat is approved, is there any utility issues on the plat? Because, and I'll get to the point, there are utility issues that I believe
And
the owner
that
is...
becomes a concern whether or not utilities will sign off on the plat.
Well, that's,
Yeah.
okay, all I'm saying is, I have met with the owner, and I know that there are certain utility issues. I've gotten correspondence. Has that been approved, and the owner is ready to go forward, or is he still doing engineering? And I don't mean that in a negative way, I just want to know what state are we at?
This has been in Travis Wilson's hands
Yes.
for quite a time now.
Exactly.
My last correspondence with him was, I need to run the numbers. From Travis telling me that he needs to run the numbers.
Yes.
I haven't seen the results of those numbers. And again, that's been two or so months now. And I try not to bother people, you know,
Well,
everybody's
it's the
busy.
famous
Right.
holiday weekend and vacation. He should be back tomorrow. That is on my list to talk to him tomorrow. But my only objection is I don't want to approve something that has not been approved by TDEC and engineering. That's my only comment. I mean, I'm waiting for Hampton to open,
Yeah.
and I'm sure the developer wants to get going. But there were, as you probably know, utility issues that I really think should be resolved before a site plan is approved. And I know I'm jumping the agenda a little bit, but that's why I'm trying to decide, is there utility issues in approving the plat? Or we
The
just-
only thing with the plat would be whether or not when you took the utility certificates, is whether or not they have access to it. That's what.
Which would
they
be
have
via
access,
a
which-
public right-of-way,
Yeah.
which they have.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. With the site plan, again, I think going off, you said, I think we're also somewhat jumping the horse because we don't even know the site plan is ready to be approved tonight. So that's the thing is, the site plan, they may look and say, I think he's brought up concerns about whether or not utilities are right now ready for the site plan approval, whether or not you guys have fulfilled all the utility requirements, or they have the proper, things there. So it may be a moot point in that the site plan would have to be tabled next month anyway, until those things are addressed.
You want us to table it or vote on it?
I would just like to say that when there's something that has some of these complications, I would rather it not be an administrative sign-off, because if there are any kind of holdups, and let's say it takes that whole month anyway before everything gets around to the secretary being able to sign it, because I'm the last one to sign anything. The questions are all going to be, why did the planning commission hold up signing off on this? And I can't sign it until everyone else has signed it. I would much rather we be back here with you or whoever the designee is, bringing the signed plat ready to go to be signed off on.
And presumably that would give us time to work with Mr. Wilson and get everything resolved, so the site plan doesn't become an issue.
I just feel like there would be a lot more transparency and no questions of what are we doing to hold something up. And you might feel like I'm saying that to hold you up, but I really am
No,
not.
I understand.
I'm trying to make it as transparent as possible and not let something slip through the cracks.
Right. My only rebuttal is, if this were to have not been presented before the planning commission, and it was just an administrative plat, if the surveyor would have corrected the certification, which I apologize, I should have followed up with the surveyor. I assumed that all of that stuff had been taken care of, so that's all on me. And Jonathan could approve the plat as is with that certification fixed on the utility certifications.
So it would be a conditional approval, subject to meeting Jonathan's request for the plat?
Jonathan,
So,
it might be
Yeah,
best just to table
yeah.
it.
yeah, I think the thing is with this, just that way we have it for next month. Because again, I don't know, we don't have a plat to look at. Again, we don't have anything to actually go by off of whether or not. It could, like I said, it meets the minimum qualifications for a staff approval plat. But I think the question that, it's not necessarily whether or not it meets the minimum, it's whether or not that's the right direction that the planning commission wants to go with, since this is all brought, this plat has already been brought to the public forefront, so the public knows this plat exists, and then putting it back to an administrative might not be the best course of action, I think is what some brought. It really comes down to whether the planning commission's direction, how they want to go.
Well, how does the planning commission?
The planning commission can also
How
request
does
a
the
table,
planning
I
commission
believe.
wanna
I wanted to hear from him first.
Yeah.
go? Okay.
That's where I stand. I believe the the planning commission can also request to table it. But before this gets denied,
Yeah, so you can
then I would
table
request to
it.
table it.
Yeah, you have 60 days within to make a decision once the plat has been submitted, so you can table it, address it, and then pass it next month, and then have the site plan immediately after again, and then have that. I think, and that would allow you guys to get all your utility signatures and everything signed on the plat. So that way, the idea would be, we could get a bang, 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 and then you guys can start getting building permits.
Yeah. Yeah, so my request would be to table it at this point.
We don't have to vote on that, do we?
Yes.
That
you
would
do
be
have to table it.
tabling necessarily both the plat and the site plan.
Well, we can still talk about the site plan if you guys have questions.
Yeah, I think that would be good to
Yes.
table the plat and then look at the site plan, then I think, that situation probably, address any concerns you have, and you can table the site plan for after the plat for next
I
month.
move to table the Vision Moneagle LLC Parker Street subdivision.
I have a
final
motion, do I
plat.
have a second?
I second it.
All for?
Aye.
All opposed?
So now we can go to site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess address any concerns you guys have with that. So that way, again, so next month, we're not worrying about whether things are going to be, do this again, so we can get everything approved. I think, again, like the mayor said, I don't think anybody's looking to delay this, but we just want to make sure everything's done correctly.
What observations do you have, John?
The main thing that I think I put in there, they have reduced the rooms. I think previously it was 93, and then now it's 89. Is there any reason behind this? Was that a parking issue, or is there staffing?
I think it's just that their prototype building, the architect has actually started on the plans, as opposed to previously what I'd submitted was just kind of a stock building footprint that they gave me. So maybe they haven't adjusted their
numbers,
footprint
yeah.
to be site specific, and so it reduced the width of the building by one room, and so now it's, or by, a room's width on both sides, so now it's 89 rooms instead of, what was it, 96 or something before.
But even with the 89s, they still fulfilled the parking requirements, so they fulfilled ADA and Monteagle's parking requirement. Again, I put that the plat needs to be done prior to the site plan, so that would be addressed, whenever we have the plat approved. Landscaping appears to fulfill all the requirements of Monteagle's landscaping, and they have it. They have the landscaping certificate, and the owners signed it. Special exception request needs to be approved, which was approved at the BCA meeting, so that's been fulfilled. Stormwater regulations are by the town engineer. Again, that seems to be something that you need to talk with Travis Wilson about stormwater and utilities, which are the main things. And then,
And the utility, just to be clear,
Mhm.
Travis has water and sewer and stormwater. I think the issue was the sewer line,
Yeah, the force main.
as you know.
Yeah,
So we need resolution on that.
which we're showing a force main on the site, so it'd be a private, we're calling it a private one second. Yeah, so we're calling out a private pump station with that being pumped around to the existing force main that's behind the subway. So what we're showing on the site plan is actual access to public utilities.
Well, that was the issue. There was.
I believe the issue
easements.
would be,
Did they get their easement from the property owners? Because just to be brief, you know that Parker goes up, sooner or later has to go under the highway, sooner or later has to get behind something.
yeah. And so we're going down Moss Circle to actually get to that sewer main. So yeah,
And has that been approved?
I'll need to talk to the owner and see if they've received those
That's what I don't.
or not. Yeah, but those things can take time for sure. So yeah, I'll get with the owner on that to see if the easements have been approved to get there. And then at the last planning commission meeting, there was concerns about Parker Street, the access to the main road with the TDOT work that's happening there. And I did speak with the project manager of TDOT, and he had no concerns for the project. And he provided me with their preliminary plan just showing that Parker Street will remain open, and that can be our primary access.
And they're staying within their right of way, it's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So they're not, they might do some work on the intersection itself of Parker Street to Main Street, but it won't affect our project. And we have, access through Moss Circle too, so. But they'll have to remain, Parker Street will have to remain open for, all the other businesses that are on Parker Street or residents that are further back.
Well, the other thing too, in all honesty, and I don't know if the site plan shows this or will show it, there are out parcels that the developer is also considering. Is that still part of the plan, and is that
They
still
are,
part of
so
the street?
the plat splits the property so that there's an access easement over the property going to and from Moss Circle and Parker Street.
Okay.
And then also utilities to be able to access through both those portions. But any plans for the out parcels would be at a later date and under a separate site plan approval. But yeah, we're splitting the lot to just have the hotel on its own property with, easement rights for utilities and access for any future development.
So that makes the plat theoretically 2 lots.
It's 2 lots.
One for
Correct.
out parcel, one for hotel.
Correct.
Thank you.
And it would be further split down the road if they were to do out parcels.
Correct.
But at this point, it's just a lot split, yeah.
Jonathan, any other comments?
That was the main ones that I had, again, that's based off what the site plan regulations had. I don't govern stormwater, since I think your stormwater ordinance has put that under the purview of the town engineer, who's more experienced in that than I am anyway, so that was the kind of thing. And then utilities, in terms of water and sewer, whether or not they feel that. That's, I think, the main concerns that we have seen there in terms of the site plan itself that I have. And again, like I said, I think because we tabled the plat, it makes sense, we'll just wait until next month and then again have all the plat signatures signed, the utility certificate signed. You can sign that. If you guys are good with everything site plan, it sounds like we still need to resolve whatever the sewer issue is.
Yeah, if we could get Travis Wilson to.
Yeah. If we get,
respond back with some
if
comments
we
or
can
approvals.
get maybe a letter from Mr. Wilson saying that everything's resolved, I think that would handle anything.
Are you the point of contact
Yeah.
for the utility? Then I'll get Mr. Wilson, make sure you're in the loop.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Commissioners, any other questions?
My only other question is just looking at traffic flow with, Moss and Parker Street and everything. And just wondering, how all of that is gonna work. And I'm assuming that when you're really presenting this, you're gonna be able to.
Well,
show
I
us
really
better.
am presenting it now.
Okay.
But Traffic's not an issue. TDOT's seen the plan, they didn't have any issue with it.
That's on Parker though, right?
That's on Parker, yeah.
Moss is barely a 2-lane road.
I know, so on Moss, seeing how that cut through and traffic and everything is gonna go. I'm just curious how you're seeing that, because I could foresee quite a bit of traffic.
So the only traffic would be, so Moss Circle does not have a lot of traffic on it. So we would be adding traffic to Moss Circle, going to and from the hotel. And we do not foresee any issues with traffic as far as accidents or anything like that.
Are you gonna be widening it or anything?
It's a city right away, right?
Go ahead, Travis.
That's what I was gonna comment, that's the city's worry. It's not his worry in widening the street. There's standards to be held to widen the street to code and to specs for the traffic influx. So that's a city issue.
Okay.
That's my opinion on
Well,
Moss.
I guess 99% of that traffic is Piggly Wiggly anyway, right?
Yeah, and that, I mean, the lower end of Hardee's there, you know, that's, some folks slip out the back gate of Hardee's and go across there behind the old Super D, or the old, that end of the Piggly Wiggly is what I'm trying to say, up the hill. I think they're down a little bit farther. I mean, I know the roads kind of deteriorated a little bit. That's something we probably have to look into from the city's standpoint to improve.
Okay. I'm just looking at if that's something that's planned as a main,
I think the way, I mean, and I don't have the site plan, I've not put eyes on it, I've just seen what the gentleman was showing me back here. His main influx he's predicting is the Parker Street. That's gonna be the front entrance back and forth for their establishment. So I was kind of looking at the Moss Circle as I'm a fireman, so I'm looking for fire access for the building, and that's kind of what I'd projected for Moss Circle. That's giving us thoroughfare for emergency services around the building.
It seems to me that if one access road is far better than the other, and assuming the postal service goes along with it, or whoever has to, using that as your address, will have people using GPSs coming mostly down that right street, I would think.
Yeah, and we've reached out to the county to get a address assigned. And so it is 715 Parker Street. So Parker Street will be its primary egress and ingress. Yeah.
If the city were to maintain Moss Circle as they should, this is a conversation that wouldn't be happening, would it?
Right.
Okay.
Well, I've been to Hamptons, quite frankly, where one was an entrance and one was an exit. In other words, I don't think there's a major problem there. I understand traffic if it all went in and out at Parker, but taking a look at Moss Circle, which I will do, maybe Travis, you and I can take a quick look. If not, tomorrow, early Monday, and to see. But yeah, traffic will always be a concern everywhere any of us have been.
well, just with growth, there's
That's
gonna be a
right.
lot going on Parker.
And there'll be those out parcels.
You're gonna have delivery trucks and other stuff going
Mhm.
on Moss, probably. Garbage pickups.
I mean, it's something we have to think about.
Well, I'm not concluding, I'm just saying, come in one way and go out the other. And take a look at Moss Circle for me, if it's an official city road.
Not in great shape to begin with.
No.
But it's basically one lane road.
All right,
What else is there?
Go ahead. Sorry, you said-
no, that's just one of my.
Anybody else? So I guess we'll be prepared to, you'll get back on the agenda?
Yes, we can table it.
Yeah, so if you table the site plan, then we can do it, and I'll talk with Jake just to make sure that we have everything.
Yeah.
You know, all our, so that we don't have the same thing happen this
Right.
month.
So we need to table the site plan?
Yes, table site plan, yes.
Do I have a motion?
I move it to table.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All for?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too.
See you next month. Okay, Jonathan. We have next the new business.
Well, we've already
Oh,
addressed the new business. We went back to old business.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
we've
I'm a work in
addressed that.
process
This would
here.
now be any hearings person that have business. with
Any
the commission.
properly presented old business, and we have none, right? Okay. New business. A and B on our list, we will not be covering tonight. Item C is Viston LLC, Parker Street, minor plat.
We already addressed that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other properly presented new business? Yes, Mr. Wilson.
I'm curious about use by special exception, which you guys discussed several months ago. It was brought to our attention by our attorney that if we were going to use use by special exceptions, which we have on many occasions recently, that we needed to come up with a short list of criteria whereby we would evaluate those uses by special exception. And I know there was some conversation about it, and I'm just wondering where that conversation went and whether that's something you guys were still planning to do. It means that a developer would have some idea of what criteria you guys would be looking at to approve their special exception.
Well, we had talked about having a workshop grouped with something else. I don't recall it was, and it didn't happen due to the holidays. So
I'll have to look to see, because I am pretty sure that an amendment was sent to the board, or at least it was passed by the planning commission. I don't know if it ever got to the board, Mayor Alderman. It was passed, basically doing the same thing we do for section 1007C, so 1007C, where we do every time we have a different a new zoning amendment. Is that the one that, I think that was what we used.
I believe I recall voting on such a recommendation.
You sent, the planning commission sent to the city council before I came on, this ordinance 1624, the convenience store ordinance, and there was one to require site plan to be submitted to BCA before it could go to BCA, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
And that was voted on, and it seemed like there was a third issue.
Yeah, I think that's the third one. That's the one
But
where we
that
did
came
special
before
exception.
the city commission, probably either at the October or November meeting.
I don't remember that ever coming to us.
It was the same time as 1624 was dealt with, if you look.
I remember us talking about it, but I don't remember us coming up with the criteria.
Well, we had a written document to vote on, and I believe we voted. I think Jonathan had done some research and put together.
I think what we had basically done is for the BCA, for special exceptions, that they would consider the same thing essentially as what the planning commission and the city commission does every time they do a zoning amendment, that they consider all the pitfalls that could happen and that it doesn't have an environmental, I think it was
It has
no environmental
it
impact.
has some additional standards,
Yes,
environmental traffic,
stuff like that.
effect on the.
And I believe it's because I believe there were three again, I think what we need to do is just look at the minutes and see what was sent. And I think at that point, so if we look at that, that can address the issue, and if it's ending up that didn't come to planning commission or never
I think
resolved.
the city council didn't pass it.
I don't remember.
That's what I had told you earlier,
us
Nate.
talking
I
about it.
remember it's not, y'all not passing it. It was,
Do you remember
it
talking
was a
about
tag
it?
along with 2 or 3 other things.
Well,
But I don't remember it coming back to us. It just didn't.
Yeah, I think just need to look at the minutes and see what was
Yeah, okay,
addressed.
okay, so we can look in the minutes and figure out whether it came to us, and if it didn't come to us, y'all think, we'll see whether you passed something.
Yes, sir.
I have a question in regard to ordinance 16-24 that is an ordinance to amend the Monaco zoning ordinance and to remove convenience stores as permitted use in C1 and to add additional restrictions to section 518, convenience stores in the town of Montego. And I had asked prior to being elected to city council, and at the last city meeting, I asked the board, the mayor, where this document came from as far as who put it together. The mayor said that the city council did not do that and said I should come before the planning commission, and it probably originated here. And my question is what criteria was used in determining that the special additional requirements in an ordinance was going to be put in. So I guess first of all, who prepared this ordinance? Jonathan?
I prepared it based off what the planning commission, either it was at a workshop or a planning commission meeting. They had, we were addressing needing definitions for convenience stores beyond what was currently there. And then at the same time, the majority had expressed they wanted to remove convenience stores from C1.
Okay. Well, I don't disagree with that. In relation to that, what Dollar Tree down here and Dollar General, what are they convenience stores?
If they, again, based off, I don't know what the definition, what their, well, I think the definition was like anything under 5, it had to be under 5,000 square feet.
Well, in this ordinance, yes.
Yeah, that's the thing is there was no definition for convenience
But
stores.
if you classified Dollar Tree today,
It'd
what
probably
is
fall
the-
under retail and commercial.
Okay.
If it doesn't fulfill the convenience store.
Well, in these requirements, adding the following restrictions as follows. Building size for convenience stores will be a maximum of 5,000 square feet. Number 2, off-street parking and convenient pedestrian access will be required for every convenience store in accordance with the Town of Mount Eagle's parking requirements and ADA. I mean, I don't even understand why you didn't put that in there. It's already a requirement. But why would you insert that in there?
I think that's what we had put. That was, I think, I want to remember correctly. Again, I'm not throwing, I think Planning Commissioner had brought some general stuff there, general convenience store regulations that they had found, and the Planning Commission had decided to figure out which ones they wanted
insert that in there?
They wanted it in, so that way it's make
Number
sure.
3 says convenience stores must operate as 24/7 facilities.
Mhm.
This requirement may be waived by the Board of Zoning Appeals on a case-by-case basis.
So that was also within the general stuff. I had put in the BZA just because I didn't want to restrict convenience stores to having it be 24/7 if it didn't make sense.
Okay.
So give them a little
So
flexibility.
is Dollar Tree a convenience store then?
If my guess is probably wouldn't fall under it based on that definition.
Okay. Is Dollar General a convenience store?
Probably not based on that definition.
Number 4, convenience stores must offer a minimum of 500 stock keeping units, SKUs. I think that's self-explanatory. The product mix of SKUs include grocery type items and also include items from the following groups: beverages, snacks, including confectionery, tobacco, and fuel.
And that was, again, that was brought before me. Again, I did not make this from scratch.
Right,
This
yeah, and I'm
was
not
brought-
implying that you
yeah.
did. I'm trying to figure out the chain here.
Yeah. So
of where
yeah,
this came
this was
from.
brought before
So
the planning
again,
commission,
Dollar Tree does not have fuel.
Mhm.
And I don't know if they sell tobacco. Yeah, they sell tobacco, I think. So is Dollar Tree a convenience store?
No,
Yeah.
Okay. Is Dollar General a convenience store?
We just said
Okay. So, why was this, somebody came up about convenience stores? We had
I think
business before?
Yeah, there were questions brought before the planning commission of what convenience stores were, so they wanted to define that. And so one of the planning commissioners had brought some general stuff, I think it was at a workshop that they wanted to, and asked the other planning commissioners and instructed me to look at drafting an ordinance based off of these general stuff. And then C1 was the planning, planning commissioners, I think, headed me.
Okay, so going back to the corner lot over here where Dollar General was going to buy from Ron Patel, it was in C3,
Mm-hmm.
and it was voted down. But then the planning commission took convenience stores out of C1, and according to what, they're allowed in C2 and C3 now.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
I believe so.
Convenience
That's what
store.
whatever the ordinance says, yeah.
Right there's the ordinance, right there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so basically, is Dollar General, according to our zoning ordinances, allowed to be located on this lot over here that's in a C3 zone?
If that ordinance, has that ordinance been passed? then they do not fulfill the requirements based off of at least what I
They
can
do
hear.
not?
That's what I
Okay,
understand.
what do they not fulfill?
Sounds like they don't fulfill the 5,000 square feet, because I think the average Dollar General is like
You just said
10,000.
they're not a
They're
convenience
not a
store.
convenience store.
You said, do they fall under a convenience? I said they do not.
Right, so if they do not, this, what I call the Dollar General ordinance, does not apply to them. Would that be, Mr. Chairman, would you want to comment on
I'm
that?
confused with what you're asking.
Yeah, what are you asking?
What are
I
you
don't think
asking
that's
to me?
C3 either.
So if you're asked is whether or not Dollar General is a convenience store based off these regulations, and based off those regulations, they don't meet the minimum criteria because they exceed 5,000 square feet.
But they're not a convenience store.
So yeah,
The problem,
So I
the problem
think your
was
question
that-
is answered.
The problem was that they did not meet the zoning as a retail
But-
store.
right, but as of
excuse me,
today,
excuse
they
me,
do.
Excuse me a second, as a retail store, and they wanted to call themselves a convenience store.
That's not true.
That, we were here when they said it.
Well, I'm telling you, they have never said they were a convenience store. They're not classified as a convenience store. I've talked to them as late as today in corporate, and the whole thing has been from the get-go that the town did not want a Dollar General on this lot over here.
Well, let me-
And this
let me-
ordinance was
let me say
developed
something.
because of that.
They did come to us and ask to be classified as a convenience store.
They did.
Well, that's not what they are.
I understand
And
that.
we-
We
That's
never
right, we
classified
agree
them as
with, we
convenience
agree with
store.
you, but they did
Okay.
ask for that.
Okay, so if they come back now on the same lot, and it's C3, then they meet the zoning requirement then. Would that be a true statement?
For the dollar store,
No, for Dollar General.
Dollar General, on that corner lot.
Yes.
Are they C3?
They're C3, and that was the issue, was they, based off the planning commission and the interpretation of the zoning ordinance, they weren't a convenience store, so they wouldn't be allowed in C3. And retail and commercial is only allowed in C1, C2. So they didn't have, there was no zoning.
Yeah, at the
for that, yeah.
time, the applicable thing was it wasn't allowed in C3 if they were a convenience store.
No.
No, if they were-
Take it out of order. They came to us to get a retail establishment in C3,
Okay.
Retail
and they didn't fit.
and retail
But
and commercial
today,
is
my
not
question
allowed.
is, today, they would fit. Would that be a?
No,
No.
because retail and commercial is still not allowed in C3.
Nothing's changed in C3.
They basically try to
Nothing's changed on that
pivot and
property.
say that they were a convenience store because it's allowed in C3.
Okay,
But they were not as a convenience store as the and at that time, after that,
okay.
there was recognition that we just need to have plain language of what convenience stores are, so we wouldn't have to have this every single
Unrelated, they
time.
were turned down, unrelated to anything to do with a convenience store. They were turned down, they did not fit in the area in the C3 zone.
Okay,
They came back to us and asked could they be classified as a convenience store.
okay,
And we told them no, they were not a convenience store. Later on, we came back in here and made the change as far as better defining what a convenience store was,
okay,
and took out the convenience store in C1.
Yeah.
okay. So if Dollar General wants to be on that property, then zoning would have to be changed, and it would have to be in a C.
They came back and asked us for the zoning to be changed.
That's what they
When
asked
they got
for.
denied, wait a minute, when they got denied, they came back and asked us for their zoning to be changed.
Yeah, I saw where they applied
It'd be
for-
spot zoning to change just them,
Yeah.
that whole parcel over
Right.
there. We said no.
Okay,
So then they came back at the same meeting, basically said, we know we're not gonna get approved here, so we wanna be a convenience store.
okay. And I think they went before the BZA. I think I saw an application.
I don't remember it going.
They paid a $50 fee.
No, I think they pulled back.
Okay, well, they paid a $50 fee.
They
because
paid the fee, and
there was
then
a
they said
receipt.
no.
Okay, so then if the city council were to vote to allow retail in a C3, then that would make it, amend the ordinance.
So if it has to originate from the planning commission first.
Has to be a
state law.
recommendation.
Well, state law requires that any zoning amendment originate with the planning commission. If the once the planning commission votes on either yes or no, then the board of mayor or city council can take
Right, that's what I'm saying. It has to come before the planning commission.
Yes.
Which retail has not, only convenience stores has. So I'm asking the proper trail would be for the planning commission to take a discussion and recommend to the city council about allowing retail in a C3.
Yes, sir.
And then
that would be
that
the way to put it.
recommendation would be passed on to the city council for them to vote on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, again, it's the recommendation to approve or deny. One of the two comes to the city council. And the city council has the right to override the recommendation.
So if it's
Except if voted down on the other.
No, so what happens, this is state law, once the planning commission, if the planning commission recommends to approve it, or recommends approval, then it's automatically sent to the board mayor alderman. If they recommend disapproval, then the only way it can go to the board mayor alderman is if the majority of the board mayor aldermen say, we will now take up.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. It
Yes,
will
sir.
be acted on.
That is the,
Yeah, it's actually
Yeah.
an oversight of the planning commission, technically.
that would be, yeah, that's what they would have to do, is the majority of the
Okay.
board mayor aldermen have to say that, even though that's assuming that it's disapproved.
Right.
If it's recommended, then of course it'll just be
Right, yeah.
addressed anyway.
Yeah, okay. So I just needed to know the right procedure there. And again, previously, nobody knew where 16-24 originated from, and the mayor
Came from
said, come to the planning commission.
And to clean up one other thing that you said, just for the record, that you stated that we turned it down to Dollar General because we didn't want a Dollar General on that corner. That's not true.
Well, I was speaking in reference to some of my fellow council members.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
it didn't go to the council
well, it's
members.
still part of the city.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
But
and when I
that's not
say,
the justification.
no, I'm talking about the city
I understand.
council, the planning commission,
I just wanted for the
the
record,
governing
clear
body
record.
as a whole.
Get the record correct.
Yeah. So,
Okay, any other business? Anything?
I have nothing.
Speak now, forever hold your peace. 30 days anyway.
Move we adjourn.
Do I have a motion?
Yes, I move we adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All those for?
Aye.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.